So I have the Parsec minus 18 degrees Celsius bag, and I have the Polar Ranger minus 30 degree bag. And they're both excellent sleeping bags. So I'm not trying to put one up against the other and say, you know, this one is better than this or this one is better than that. They're both excellent. They both have essentially the same build quality and material. The Parsec minus 18 degree bag is a standard mummy sleeping bag with a side zip, draft tubes around that zipper, around your neck, a hood that you can tighten with a drawstring to close the front. It's 800 fill power down. The temperature rating is minus 10 Celsius for comfort and minus 18 degrees Celsius for the limit. It also has a doubled foot box that makes it a little bit more warm. The back panel has slightly less down than the front, so the majority of the down is on top. But it is a standard mummy sleeping bag, side entry, you know, kind of what everyone's used to. The Polar Ranger is a completely different animal. It's a specialty bag for extremely cold weather. It is very similar in build. It's the same nylon fabric. I think the components are all the same in terms of the zipper qualities, etc. The build quality, it's just as good. Obviously, it's for colder temperatures. So it's got a comfort rating of minus 20 degrees C and a limit temperature rating of minus 30 degrees C. So there's a lot more down in here. Same 800 fill power down, but there's a lot more of it, so it's obviously heavier. This bag weighs 58 ounces, whatever that is in grams. The Parsec minus 18 weighs 44 ounces, whatever that is in grams. They're both size long, so they're very comparable. Because there's more down in the Polar Ranger, it has a larger packing volume. It takes up a lot more space in your backpack, about 30% more. I don't use stuff sacks. I can't verify their claims to that this one packs down to 10 liters and this one packs down to 7 liters. I have no idea. The first big difference between the Polar Ranger and the Parsec is that this one has a central zipper that opens along the top versus the Parsec that you open from the side. It also has these side vents that open to the inside and has that on both sides. You can wear this sitting down kind of like a big jacket and be in your tent, and you can drink and eat and cook a little bit and do little chores. It also has the doubled foot box, so an extra little pouch of down that you literally put your feet in, just like the Parsec. So that design is shared. It's definitely got a variable fill, so less down on the bottom than on the top. The biggest difference between the two, beyond the temperature rating, is the fact that you have a very particular opening at the face, which they call the snorkel. So it's that central zip, this tube that's around your face that you can't really open as wide as a standard sleeping bag. It's the same size tube all the time, and it has some magnetic closures that sort of snap together and hold that tube up over your face. It also has a very fitted hood. Unlike a normal mummy style sleeping bag that just kind of curves around your whole head, it really does come to your shoulders and go around your head. It means it's very warm. Huge draft tubes along both sides of the zipper that mesh together really well. Big draft tube around the neck, and also really big draft tubes around both side vents. It's almost hard to find the zipper in between those draft tubes. They're so thick. A little bit of the backstory to these sleeping bags. I've always used a minus 20 degree sleeping bag for winter camping. And when I say a minus 20 degree sleeping bag, it always refers to that limit temperature. For whatever reason, sleeping bag companies refer to the temperature rating as the limit. So if you see a minus 20 degree sleeping bag, that's typically the limit. But you kind of have to read the fine print. The Parsec fits in that range of a minus 20 degree sleeping bag. It's a minus 18. And I had been using a minus 20 degree Marmot lithium for several years. That was my winter sleeping bag. What happened was I bought a minus 6 degree sleeping bag as this kind of bridging 3-season sleeping bag, and it really, really impressed me. I found it outperformed its temperature rating. So I was curious if I would get a similar experience from the minus 18 degree Parsec because it's a little bit lighter than my minus 20 degree Marmot Lithium. So I reached out to Thermarest. They sent me this sleeping bag to test and review and all of that stuff. So if that turns you off, so be it. My experience with this bag, I think the temperature rating is accurate. I do think it sleeps a tiny bit colder than my Marmot Lithium minus 20 degree bag. That makes sense because the Marmot Lithium is rated to minus 12, borderline minus 13 for comfort, and minus 20 for limit. This bag is rated to minus 10 for comfort and minus 18 for the limit. So I'm not really gaining much weight savings or anything like that, even though I am saving, I think, 4 ounces. So this bag weighs just under 3 pounds. My Marmot Lithium was bang on 3 pounds. I think it does perform to its temperature rating. The big companies out there, if you're interested in how a sleeping bag performs, at least my understanding is that the big companies test their bags pretty thoroughly. They should match with their claim. Now, I would call myself a normal sleeper. I don't sleep cold, I don't sleep hot. So those temperature ratings work really well for me. Just for context, your comfort level for a sleeping bag is wearing sort of what you'd call base layers. And you're supposed to be comfortable at that temperature. The limit is where you're gonna start to feel cold. Anyone who does winter camping, in my mind, should have a minus 20 degree sleeping bag because they're very comfortable at minus 10 and you can push them to minus 20 without doing too much. And I've pushed minus 20 degree sleeping bags much colder, putting out, using every trick in the book. Where does the Polar Ranger come in? Well, I did a trip last year in Skokie and my minus 20 degree sleeping bag, that was before I got this one, my minus 20 degree sleeping bag was way undergunned for the conditions. And you just have to, sort of think about the context of where I live. The daily average low in December and January is about minus 18 in the city of Banff. So I live in Calgary. The city of Banff is pretty much the main weather station for once I'm in the mountains. That really means that it's very common for the temperature to go below minus 20. It's really, really common for it to be minus 25, minus 30, and then sometimes push below minus 30, minus 35. It's not unusual. We get polar vortexes and it gets absolutely frigid. I don't really like going out when it's that cold. Below minus 30 is really pushing it for a minus 20 degree sleeping bag, even when you know all of these tricks. So I was out on that trip last year. My friend Justin Outdoors, who most of you have probably seen if you're watching this video, had one of these Polar Rangers. And let me tell you, I was suffering and he was not. Again, reached out to Thermarest and they were kind enough to send me this sleeping bag. I have a minus 6 degree quilt, I have a minus 6 degree sleeping bag, and I have these 2 winter sleeping bags. That's my arsenal of sleeping bags. I'm not gonna review other sleeping bags, I just don't care. These ones all work in my mind. They're great sleeping bags and I know how they work. That's really what's important to me. I don't like testing a ton of gear. You find out all kinds of weird things when you're out testing gear. You get some nasty surprises. The most important thing to me, from my perspective for gear, is to know how your gear performs. That way in every kind of condition, you pretty much know what to expect. The minus 18 degree sleeping bag works very well. Minus 10, super comfortable. Minus 18 and below, you gotta start using some tricks. And then when you get into something like the Polar Ranger, this is a specialty bag. This is for when it's really cold out. So for me, this will be pretty much my end of December, January, early February bag when I know that I'm out for a trip that's long enough that I can get those temperatures that go really quite low. I've used this bag at its comfort rating, at its limit rating, below its limit rating, and above the comfort rating. It really behaves differently at all of those temperatures. Let's talk about temperatures warmer than the comfort rating. Above the comfort rating is not too much of a problem with this bag because you have so many venting options. I just open the whole thing up and sleep with it completely open like that. And it is fine. There's so much warmth in there that you're very comfortable. If it was even warmer than that, you can open the side vents. There's so many venting options with this that it can handle those sort of warmish temperatures relatively well. There's probably a temperature that it's just too hot, but if you're below freezing, you can normally vent pretty well. At -20, very comfortable. I actually think that -30 is more of the comfort rating for this bag. I've used it at -30, you know, -25, -30, that's where it really excels. You have it fully zipped up, the snorkel works well. Below -30, that's where the snorkel really starts to perform because it stops your face from getting cold. When I've been at below -30 with a normal mummy sleeping bag, there's nothing around your face, and that cold air just completely gets over. I've been in situations where my eyes literally hurt. The snorkel completely stops that. The last time, you know, when I was out below -30 with this bag, I thought it wasn't that cold because my eyes weren't hurting. So I unzipped it a little bit, and then my face started to hurt. It traps that hot air around your face a little bit, and you know, it really does work. Between -20 and -30, it's a little bit weird because you almost don't need that full enclosure around your face, but it's hard to open the bag up enough to just sort of be comfortable, and you're forced to have it very closed or very open. The in-between is challenging with this bag. A normal mummy bag, you know, you can have the face, the hood open quite a lot and have a big oval. Your whole face can be exposed, and in a lot of temperatures, that's just fine. You can also close down quite a bit, or, you know, completely unzip it and, you know, just be more like in a bed with sheets. The other aspect of the whole hood and snorkel assembly around your face is that you're in a very claustrophobic environment. So if you're a person that gets kind of freaked out by that, it might not be great for you. It doesn't bother me too much, and I'm out there pushing very cold temperatures sometimes, and I need that. So it's more important for me that I don't freeze my face. I'll give you an example. If you think that you're a cold sleeper, so for example, at -10, you might want more of a -15 degree sleeping bag for comfort. And you say, well, you know what? The Polar Ranger could work because it's just so warm. I'm a cold sleeper. Well, at -15, you don't need to protect your face the same way. It's more your body temperature that if you're a cold sleeper is causing the problem. So with that bag, it'd be very hard to make it just a very livable and kind of fun bag for everyday use. It's a specialty bag for extreme conditions. Just everything about it screams extreme conditions. The draft tubes, the hood, the fit, everything about it is for the coldest of cold weather. It's not just a warmer Parsec. It's a different build. It's a different type of sleeping bag. The other thing about the design of the snorkel and the opening is that you're really forced to sleep on your back. Now, both bags kind of force you to sleep on your back because the insulation is mostly on the top of the bag. There's definitely insulation on the bottom of both. It's not like there's none. Some sleeping bags have absolutely none. These have quite a bit of down on the bottom, but the vast majority is on the top of the bag. You don't want to be sleeping and turning with the whole bag on your side. You really want to be sleeping on your back in this bag. If you turn your body in the bag and leave the bag flat, your head will go into the hood. Whereas something like the Parsec, if you really want to sleep on your side, you can turn on your side, keep the bag sort of flat on your mattress, and change how much you tighten the drawstring around your face to have a place where your breath can escape. If you're getting into winter camping, I think that a standard sleeping bag is the way to go. From my point of view, beginners are better off staying at that -10, -15 tops. At least if you have a -20 degree sleeping bag and the temperature drops a little bit below, you're okay. Just because you have the sleeping bag, that's not where the challenge ends. Being in camp is almost more challenging than the part where you go to bed. I think everyone's worried about going to bed. That's relatively simple if you have the right gear. But -30, your hands get cold quickly, your feet get cold quickly. All kinds of things can go wrong. That's my perspective on these two bags. I think they're great bags. They have the same good build quality. Standard Mummy is much more kind of user-friendly, do it all, go camping, have fun, can handle quite a broad range of temperatures. The Polar Ranger is truly an extreme cold specialist. There's definitely bags out there that have colder temperature ratings, but I think a lot of the features of this bag mean that it can handle probably colder than its temperature rating, especially as you start to add on potentially, a good down jacket, some insulated pants, some hut booties, a warm water bottle. I'm pretty sure that this bag can go down to well below -40, which from my point of view is beyond what most people want to be camping in. So I hope all of that was kind of useful. I'm sure a lot of people out there are thinking, oh, that Polar Ranger, I'm really interested in it. If I go winter camping, I need that bag. I don't think most people do. If you do, you do. And it is a great piece of kit. For most people, standard mummy design, side entry, single zipper with that -20 degree limit, -10, -12 degree comfort is more than good enough. You can do tons of winter camping with a bag like that.
Let's say it's -20-ish. You really don't need to close everything down the same way as when it's colder. I have the flaps kind of pushed out of the way. You zip it up, that's no problem. My eyes are at the snorkel, and this is nice because I can see out. But the reality is that that's not how you sleep. You sleep like this. So sleeping bag over your eyes. You try and adjust as much as possible to have your nose up against the top part of the opening so that your mouth breathes straight out through the hole, your mouth and nose. If you move your head down and you can look out, you're breathing into the sleeping bag. You're really breathing all up against the inner material right now. Compare that to the Parsec. Nice hood. Zip it up. Pretty relaxed.